Joanna Remiliotis is outside the courthouse tonight. So, Joanna, can you walk us through this day?
Adrienne, until now, this trial was held entirely on Zoom because of COVID, and it focused specifically on the state of mind of a killer. But today ended with a tribute to his victims and to those left behind, some of whom had gathered here at the courthouse to watch the judge deliver her verdict online.
Chul Min Kang.
Crown Prosecutor Joe Callahan began by reciting the names of the victims as survivors and families of those who died filed out quietly. Some stood by, others spoke to who today's verdict was about.
Not a day goes by that you don't think about the person you've lost. And
Nick D'Amico's sister, Anne-Marie, was killed in the attack.
It's like you're holding your breath for 3 years and you can finally breathe. I don't really know how else to explain it.
The horror of that day, the intent behind it, was never in question. Court heard Alek Minassian plan to use a van to mow down people deliberately. The only issue, did he understand what he did was legally and morally wrong? Minassian's controversial defense hinged on his diagnosis of autism. His lawyer argued the disorder rendered him unable to fully appreciate what he did was wrong, and therefore he was not criminally responsible for his actions. But in her ruling, Justice Anne Malloy concluded the evidence pointed to someone who understood his deadly rampage on this street would have devastating consequences, but that his desire for infamy was greater. In an extraordinary step, it's why the judge said she would refer to the accused only as John Doe. His attack on these 26 victims that day was an act of a reasoning mind, she said, notwithstanding its horrific nature and notwithstanding that he has no remorse for it and no empathy for his victims. I find John Doe guilty on all counts on the indictment.
We're pleased with this verdict.
Those in the autism community were bracing for a different outcome.
We were concerned that our work to do in destigmatizing those with autism would be greater if the results had gone the other way today.
Back at the courthouse, this ends a terrible chapter.
It's going to be a long journey, but I'm going to get there.
Kathy Riddell was injured in the attack.
He can spend the rest of his life in jail because he deserves it.
Minassian's defense wouldn't say for sure, but hinted an appeal could be likely. A court date has been set for later this month to discuss next steps.
And Joanna, it seems that the judge also spent some time today laying out the impact of this attack on those who survived.
She did, Adrienne. She outlined their names and their injuries, going specifically into some details: broken pelvis, head trauma, broken limbs. And it was all, again, part of the focus of today that put the attention to the victims and not the killer.
All right, Joanna, thanks very much.